Leah Remini rose to fame as Carrie Heffernan, the tough-talking wife from Queens on CBS's The King of Queens, whom she played for 9 seasons. Off-camera, Remini was a member of the Church of Scientology, and when her affiliation with the organization came up in interviews, she was quick to dismiss any criticism. LongHorn Steakhouse has carved out a reputation as one of the best-known casual steak restaurants in the U.S., eclipsing its humble origins as a single restaurant that opened in Atlanta in the early 1980s. When speaking with CNN in 2001, for example, the TV star challenged the religion's detractors to know what you're against before they start making judgments. If somebody is going to get turned off about something because of what they read or heard, then that person's not smart enough to even enter a church, she said. A little over a decade after that chat with CNN happened, Remini's life changed drastically. As Page Six reported in 2013, she parted ways with Scientology because, as a source told the outlet, she wanted to sever ties from a regime she thinks is corrupt. After she left the organization, the truth about Remini's life within the religion that she'd been a part of since childhood came out. Scientology is at the root of much of the pain Remini has suffered, but it's not the sole cause of all of her strife. The restaurant's concept was the brainchild of George McKerrow, who explained in an interview with Atlanta Business Chronicle that Texas-style steak restaurants were becoming popular at the time thanks to the success of the 1981 movie Urban Cowboy. McKerrow's concept, he explained, was very simple, and meant to capitalize on the evolving style of people's dining preferences. Decades later, that philosophy laid the groundwork for what went on to become one of the leading restaurant chains in the nation. Let's take a look at the tragic life of Leah Remini. Leah Remini was estranged from her father upon leaving Scientology in 2013. Leah Remini was on a TLC reality show with her family called It's All Relative. For 2 seasons, she starred alongside her husband, Angelo, and their daughter, as well as members of her extended family, including her mother, stepfather, and one of her sisters. Missing from the show George Anthony Remini, Leah's biological father. George split up with Leah's mother, Vicki Marshall, when Leah was young, and he was estranged from the family ever since. It's funny, somehow my father, the guy who left his kids and never paid child support, was excluded from my resentment, and I grew up resenting my mother for not being home to make food, like all my friends' moms were, the actor told BuzzFeed in 2014. He was never a member of the church, but in 2017, George and his wife Dana bashed Leah in an interview with the Church of Scientology International. According to a 2018 profile on McKerrow in The Atlantan, that one Atlanta restaurant grew into an expansive chain with nearly 500 restaurants in 4 different countries. As figures from Statista indicate, the LongHorn Steakhouse chain generated 2019 revenues of a staggering $1.8 billion. The LongHorn brand has become ubiquitous for steak lovers, yet there's a lot that aficionados can learn about this unique establishment. Read on to discover the untold truth of LongHorn Steakhouse. The original LongHorn Steakhouse was once an adult bookstore before opening his first LongHorn Steakhouse in Atlanta. Aspiring restaurateur George McKerrow had a decade of experience in the hospitality industry. According to a company history via Reference for Business, McKerrow held a variety of jobs, including working at a Cleveland pancake house and tending bar in Columbus. One of the most serious allegations he made against his daughter was that she never paid his cancer testing fees that she promised to cover. He struck out on his own in 1973 at age 22, opening a supper club in West Virginia. He quickly sold that business and spent the next few years working for a restaurant chain that ultimately brought him to Atlanta. In 1978, he and a partner were able to secure $100,000 in capital to launch his own restaurant. Seeking the ideal location, McKerrow zeroed in on a building that had previously housed an X-rated bookstore, and began renovations that would transform the one-time porn palace into his vision of a casual dining establishment with a traditional Texas Roadhouse vibe. However, there were some big obstacles standing in the way before McKerrow was able to open the doors of what was initially known as LongHorn Steaks Restaurant and Saloon, with an aim to serve the best steaks and the coldest beer in town, all within a honky-tonk atmosphere. The business nearly failed before it even took off. Reference for Business recalled that as the renovation was underway at the LongHorn Steaks Restaurant and Saloon, disaster struck when founder George McKerrow's business partner, and the funding, vanished.
He claimed he couldn't get the biopsy until a year after he asked for her help, and alleged that her failure to come through with the money is part of the reason he got sick. "Now I don't have a daughter." Leah Remini learned of her father's death after the fact. George Remini wasn't a member of Scientology, but Leah Remini believes the organization fueled their estrangement. In September 2019, Leah shared on Instagram that she learned about her father's death a month after his passing. "I found myself scrambling to get the restaurant open," he said in an interview with Atlanta Business Chronicle. She wrote, "I received a message from my sister Nicole, who had been contacted by a stranger passing on his condolences for the passing of our father, George Anthony Remini." Leah added that they had no idea that he had died a month ago. She acknowledged their estrangement but wanted a chance to heal. With no other options, McKerrow turned to his father for the money needed to complete the reno. The decision to seek help from his dad proved to be an exceptionally good one. He was not able to redeem himself, to ask for forgiveness for his failures and hurts, to become a better man to those of us who couldn't help but love him, she said. Leah wrote that she hoped to one day have some closure, but the last chapter in our relationship was dictated by Scientology. She alleged the church used her father as a pawn, and got him on board not with their beliefs but with their smear campaign. The actor said she would have forgiven him, if given the opportunity, even though, after taking the offer from Scientology to betray me, he wouldn't have thought that he could ever come back from that in our relationship. The little girls inside of my sisters and me will never forgive Scientology for taking away our last chance to have the one thing we always wanted from our father, she wrote. Leah Remini lost a sister to cancer in December 2013. Leah Remini's sister, Nicole Remini tweeted, "Today we lost our 35-year-old sister to cancer. Please consider donating on her behalf," sharing a link to donate to Stand Up to Cancer. She was referring to Leah's half-sister Stephanie Remini, who was initially diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2012 before doctors discovered growths in one of her lungs, her left hip bone, and her spine, per Radar Online. In 2016, Leah posted a tribute to her late sister on Instagram for National Siblings Day. As McKerrow explained, his father not only became his investor, but also a great partner for the last 25 years of his life, and was instrumental in helping us grow LongHorn into a national chain. Those early years of struggle were key for McKerrow, and taught him a valuable lesson that stayed with him during the decades that followed. "A little throwback action and love to all of my sisters," she wrote, under a collage of her siblings, tagging them and including the hashtag, #RipStephanie. Leah's stepmother, Dana Connaughton, claimed in a 2017 video posted by the Church of Scientology that the sisters may have been estranged, too. Leah did not assist Stephanie Remini with money when Stephanie had cancer, Connaughton alleged. She said, "Get charity care." In the aforementioned video, to Leah's father, George Remini, claimed, "She never liked Stephanie. Tenacity played a big part of my early success," he said. "'Cause she saw herself in Stephanie. No matter what the state of Stephanie and Leah's relationship, it is a tragedy when cancer takes a life too soon." Leah Remini's life in Florida wasn't exactly sunny when Leah Remini was in elementary school. Her mother, Vicki Marshall, joined Scientology. "I believed in myself and what I was doing. You can't give up when things get tough, and I had a fundamental belief in what I was doing was going to work no matter what the circumstances were." The restaurant would have probably died had it not been for a freak snowstorm. George McKerrow's LongHorn Steaks restaurant and saloon was struggling to stay afloat when Atlanta was hit by a freak snowstorm in 1982, leaving motorists stranded and many without electricity. As luck would have it, the LongHorn was one of the few restaurants in its area that still had power. Remini followed suit, and their family eventually moved to the church's compound in Clearwater, Florida, where, as Remini recalled to BuzzFeed, they were working from morning until night with barely any schooling. In 1983, then 13-year-old Remini relocated from Florida to Los Angeles because of the conditions at the compound. McKerrow came up with an idea, recalled the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, posting a sign outside the eatery that read, "Drinks $1 while it snows." That sign got the attention he was hoping for, and the first night, McKerrow and his crew served $700 in drinks. "We went from a middle-class lifestyle in Brooklyn, New York, to living in a roach-infested motel with 6 other girls off a freeway in Clearwater," Remini told BuzzFeed of initially moving to Florida. As the snowstorm continued for a few more days, so did the parade of customers coming into the restaurant, something McKerrow credits with keeping the place in business. "It became folklore," said McKerrow of his gamble. "Not only did the restaurant survive, it thrived thanks to all those new customers who might not have otherwise dropped by. We were separated from our mother. In 1983, according to Reference for Business, McKerrow opened a second location, this one in the suburbs of Atlanta, which also proved to be successful. "We had to sign billion-year contracts we didn't understand. And we kept saying, why are you doing this to us? Why are we here?" Remini's sister Shannon Ferrara was an infant at the time, and Remini recalled what the baby endured at the compound in 2015's Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. She noted, some random teenage Sea Org member was in charge of the nursery, adding, "Shannon was crying and soaked with urine in her crib. The neglect was overwhelming." After winning an Emmy in 2017 for Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath, her 3-season-long A&E series that allowed former Scientologists to speak out about their experiences in the organization, Remini jokingly ribbed Marshall in her acceptance speech. "Mom, thank you." By the end of the 1980s, there were 15 LongHorn locations, with the chain expanding beyond Atlanta into North Carolina. The success of LongHorn Steakhouse spawned another popular eatery in 2000. George McKerrow retired from Rare Hospitality International Inc. "You are officially forgiven for getting us into a cult," she said, according to Deadline. Leah Remini's Sea Org memories are harrowing. Leah Remini's negative experiences in Scientology were not limited to poor living conditions. As a teenager, she was a member of the Church's Sea Organization, a religious order for the Scientology religion, and is composed of the singularly most dedicated Scientologists, individuals who have committed their lives to the volunteer service of their religion, according to the official Scientology website. LongHorn Steakhouse's parent company. According to Remini, members are also allegedly subjected to physical abuse. A few years later, in 2007, the entire chain was sold by Rare to Darden Restaurants Inc., which also owns such restaurant chains as Olive Garden and Capital Grille. The reported price, $1.4 billion. Yet McKerrow wasn't quite ready to be put out to pasture. In 2002, he partnered with Atlanta-based media mogul Ted Turner to launch Ted's Montana Grill, built upon a model that focused on sustainability. One key difference between this new venture and LongHorn was that beef wouldn't be the primary focus at Ted's, but rather bison. Speaking with The Atlantan, McKerrow admitted he found it ironic that serving diners bison, a species that had once been hovering on the brink of extinction, had actually increased the population several-fold, and we've done so sustainably. As McKerrow mused, being at the helm of a successful enterprise is satisfying by itself, but if you can go to sleep at night knowing that your efforts are actually doing some good in this world, that's the cherry on top. LongHorn Steakhouse offered a hotline to help amateur grillers when holidays such as Memorial Day and the 4th of July roll around. Americans tend to head outdoors, fire up their barbecues and get grilling. Recognizing this annual tradition, LongHorn Steakhouse offered it assistance by providing a special hotline to serve up tips, techniques and advice to amateur grillers. In Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology, she claimed Sea Org leader Mike Curley threw her overboard when the group was out on the ocean in a speedboat because she did not say, "Yes sir." She continued, "The shock of the moment and the freezing water took my breath away, and for an instant, I thought I was going to drown." Remini also wrote that once her acting career was off the ground, she was apparently forced to pay $40,000 to the church for food I stole 20 years earlier. That would probably buy her a building full of hamburgers and custard, the food she admitted to stealing when she was a hungry Sea Org member in the 80s. In 2015, the church addressed Remini in a lengthy statement, calling her account, revisionist history. Scientologists don't wanna have fun, as Leah Remini shared in Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. The psychological scars she developed from her time in the church run deep, and she's spent the years following her departure acclimating to her post-Scientology life. Launched in 2013, the LongHorn Grill Us hotline allowed the public to connect with the restaurant's certified grill masters. As LongHorn's head of marketing John Fadul explained in a press release, LongHorn's 30-plus years of experience, serving upwards of 650,000 steaks per week, means we know a thing or two about grilling. The program proved to be successful, returning each year to offer grilling assistance. In 2018, the Austin American-Statesman offered some grill tips from John Dickey, one of the staffers manning the hotline. She told People in 2017, "You rebuild slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. Part of that adjustment includes going out with pals and enjoying herself." "There's no going to dinner with friends and having a glass of wine in Scientology, I never did that in my adult life," she said in a 2014 interview with BuzzFeed. The first of these was, when grilling with charcoal, to not skimp on the briquette since the ideal temperature to cook a steak is 550 degrees Fahrenheit. If using a propane grill, Dickey advised turning it on 10 minutes before cooking so the grill had enough time to heat up to the desired temperature. Longhorn and Denny's have a weird romance in online fan fiction for most people. LongHorn Steakhouse conjures up images of thick, juicy ribeyes and tantalizing T-bones, while Denny's elicits thoughts of eggs over easy nestled next to a pile of fluffy pancakes. That was not the case for some folks who followed the LongHorn Steakhouse Tumblr account. "I always thought people who had a glass of wine at dinner were alcoholics." She explained to the outlet that many Scientologists don't drink at all because, you can't get counseling the next day at the church if you've had a drink. She pointed out that being sober is not a bad thing, but the organization's rule prevents you from having fun because your mindset is to wake up early and go to the church every single day. In fact, certain fans of the two restaurants placed the two restaurant chains within some highly romantic and very weird fan fiction. As Daily Dot reported, it all began when LongHorn Steakhouse launched its Tumblr account, run by an anonymous employee. "There's a lot of work required to retain your place in the church." Remini also told BuzzFeed that competing on Dancing with Stars Season 17, where she and partner Tony Dovolani placed fifth, put her in touch with her fun, feminine side. Some celebrities cut ties with Leah Remini. Scientology has prominent celebrity members, and when Leah Remini left in 2013, she lost many famous friends, including actor Kirstie Alley. Apparently, the person running the Tumblr was regularly propositioned, and would respond by joking, "Sorry, I love Denny's." That throwaway joke led fans to start posting stories and drawings featuring a fictional romance between a young couple, Longhorn, a handsome male occasionally depicted with horns on his head, and a fetching young woman named Denny, often drawn in the style of Japanese anime. This fictional relationship eventually came to be dubbed Denhouse. One Tumblr user put things in perspective by writing, "You know your life has hit rock bottom when you're shipping two restaurants, oh my lord." LongHorn Steakhouse is generous with its recipes as demonstrated by its holiday grilling hotline. LongHorn Steakhouse is not stingy when it comes to helping its customers recreate their steaks at home. The same holds true for the chain's recipes. In fact, the LongHorn Steakhouse website features a special page that's bursting with recipes that have been inspired by Longhorn chefs. Surprisingly, only a few of these recipes featured steaks. Among these were a coffee-rubbed ribeye and a herb-rubbed beef tenderloin topped with a portobello mushroom cream sauce. On a 2013 episode of The Howard Stern Show, via HuffPost, Alley called Remini a bigot, and asked, "If someone was out there attacking your religion, would they be your friend?" "They wouldn't be mine. It's not selective. I just won't have people in my life that are bigots." In 2018, Alley tweeted a story that alleged Remini's Scientology and the Aftermath co-host, Mike Rinder, assaulted his wife. Rinder has denied the accusations. "You have no balls on top of no integrity." Meanwhile, those who enjoy LongHorn Steakhouse's ribs can fire up the grill, cook up a batch of grilled baby back ribs, accompanied by a sweet and spicy bourbon barbecue sauce. Some of the non-steak recipes shared on the site included grilled vegetables, grilled lime shrimp, and even a grilled Caesar salad, with hearts of romaine that were lightly grilled until slightly blackened. "You're spreading false, defamatory info at the demand of your cult," Remini tweeted. There was even a grilled dessert, grilled bananas Foster, placing a distinctive Longhorn spin on the iconic New Orleans favorite. During a Q&A session on Reddit, Remini was also very direct about how she felt about Tom Cruise when asked if he was a good person. "Just going to get straight to it. No," she said. She also shared that, "The people who are around Tom and work for Tom, not even people who are Scientologists, they will say he is diabolical." Regarding Remini, the church released a statement in 2015 in which they claimed she now regurgitates the tired myths the church has repeatedly debunked, circulated by the same tiny clique of expelled former staffers bitter at having lost the positions they enjoyed before their malfeasance and unethical conduct were uncovered. The statement called these former members deadbeats, admitted liars, self-admitted perjurers, wife beaters and worse. Leah Remini's husband does what? When Leah Remini appeared on The View in 2015, via DailyMail.com, Joy Behar addressed one of the many revealing excerpts from Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology. Behar asked about the part where Remini described herself as being selfish and self-centered, admitted to physically threatening people, labeled her husband a serial cheater, and called her mother a slut. It's unclear whether Angelo Pagan has cheated on her or not, but Remini did share why she offered up these secrets so bluntly in her book. So I know how members of the church deal with people like me, she explained. They would take something out of context or in my confessions and put that on the street. She recalled the story of how she met Pagan on RuPaul in 2019. Basically, if you want to create a complete LongHorn-inspired meal in your own kitchen, they have you covered. LongHorn Steakhouse offers a wide variety of cuts. If there's one thing that LongHorn knows how to deliver to its customers, it's variety. In fact, LongHorn's menu offers an impressive array of diverse cuts of meat, ranging from its signature outlaw ribeye to the savory renegade sirloin. Then there's the LongHorn Porterhouse, which is described as the biggest steak in the game, a 22-ounce slab of beef that combines a bone-in strip and fillet into one thick cut. In addition to all those regular menu items, LongHorn Steakhouse also serves up some special selection cuts on occasion. I was like, damn. What time do you get off? She said of meeting him at a club in LA, hand-selected for their one-of-a-kind marbling and textures, their prized possessions for any steak lover, notes the chain's website. These special cuts included a 14-ounce Delmonico described as, not just a steak, but an event, along with a 12-ounce New York strip and the 6-ounce Flo's filet. It's tender, buttery and you won't regret a single bite, the LongHorn website promised to the latter. LongHorn Steakhouse shared some of its secrets. One of the key secrets to achieving the juicy and delicious steaks enjoyed by customers of LongHorn Steakhouse is that the restaurant is insistent on using fresh steaks, never frozen. Everything that you should not do as a girl is ask a guy when he gets off work, hit it real quick, and it was a lot of that. She also alluded to the rumors that their relationship began as an affair. Speaking with the Daily Meal, LongHorn chef Michael Senek conceded that frozen steaks may be more cost-effective for restaurants, allowing them to be stored for significantly longer, but the quality of the meat ultimately suffers. In addition, he explained that freezing a steak can also result in the formation of ice crystals and lead to freezer burn. Meanwhile, if a frozen steak isn't correctly thawed, it can hamper the ability to grill it to the proper level of preparedness. Senek also stressed the importance of keeping one's grill clean, which will prevent a steak from being ruined by sticking to the grates. For home grillers striving to reach the heights, he recommended first scraping the grates of the grill and then firing it up. It's a beautiful love story because we did have a hard time in the beginning, she said. We didn't meet under the best circumstances. We got counseling and it was not an easy road. No matter what the circumstances, Remini sure spills the tea on her personal life. Leah Remini was fired from The Talk. Leah Remini was one of the original hosts of the CBS show The Talk, which began airing in 2010. While the grill is heating up, Senek advised dipping a hand towel in canola oil, gripping the towel with tongs, and then running it along the grates as they heat up. This, he explained, would prevent steaks from sticking. LongHorn Steakhouse was Georgia's top restaurant during the COVID-19 pandemic. When the coronavirus pandemic led restaurants throughout North America to shut down, many eateries that had the capability shifted to a business model that emphasized takeout orders placed online, often using app-based delivery services. Among these was LongHorn Steakhouse, which offered customers meals to go. The strategy proved to be a winning one in the steakhouse's home state of Georgia. Before the second season of the show, however, she and co-host Holly Robinson Peete were let go from the cast. 7 months later, she offered up the alleged reason why. Sharon thought me and Holly were ghetto. According to the Columbus Ledger-Inquirer, a report from Top Data analyzed consumer tracking data to determine which casual dining restaurants had been used most by consumers in each of America's 50 states. In Georgia, statistics demonstrated Georgians were craving beef during the pandemic and that LongHorn Steakhouse was the most visited fast casual restaurant in the state since the start of the pandemic. While LongHorn was Atlanta's top pandemic performer, other restaurants most visited by Georgia residents included Chili's, Waffle House, Cracker Barrel and IHOP. A LongHorn Steakhouse was the scene of a brutal double homicide. While the appearance of a LongHorn Steakhouse in a newspaper headline is typically seen as a good thing for the company from a public relations perspective, that decidedly wasn't the case in 2019 when a LongHorn location in Clarksville, Tennessee was the scene of a brutal double homicide. According to Nashville's Fox 17 News, 2 men were gunned down in the parking lot of that LongHorn Steakhouse location, apparently the result of some type of dispute. The public at large was not thought to be threatened at the time. Not surprisingly, when the shots were fired, many people, reportedly fled from the scene of the shooting. "We were not funny, awkward and didn't know ourselves," Remini shared in a since-deleted tweet via TV Guide. She has the power that was given to her. In a statement that went up on Facebook, Osbourne said, "Leah knows that I have never been in the position to hire or fire anyone on the show." She continued, "That being said, my only wish is that Leah would just stop all this negative, unprofessional and childish behavior." The 2 victims were rushed to a nearby hospital, where they later died. As the Leaf Chronicle subsequently reported, 2 men were arrested and charged in connection with the 2 murders. The suspects were indicted by the Montgomery County Grand Jury on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, the newspaper noted. LongHorn Steakhouse revamped its Shirley Temple after a kid's lousy review. Let it never be said that LongHorn Steakhouse doesn't respond to the feedback offered by its customers. In 2019, a 6-year-old's Instagram review went viral when he critiqued the Shirley Temple he was served at a LongHorn Steakhouse. "It's been 7 months. It's time to move on." According to the kid, identified by people as Leo Kelly, the Shirley Temple was the tallest he'd ever had, but he had to diss the drink for containing not one single cherry. In response, an Instagram post from LongHorn Steakhouse trumpeted the news. The restaurant was altering its recipe, which was now fit for the king, a clever play on the youngster's Instagram handle, the Shirley Temple King. "Leah is a very talented actress and I only wish her happiness and success." On a 2015 episode of The Howard Stern Show, Remini admitted that her bluntness doesn't make for the best daytime talk show decorum. The new Shirley Temple recipe upped the cherry game substantially by adding 5 cherries, 3 on the bottom of the beverage, and another 2 on top, balanced atop the rim of the glass with a skewer. He's been ordering Shirley Temples from the age of 3 and always commented on them. The lad's father, Tom Kelly, told People of his son's burgeoning role as a Shirley Temple critic. The Food Network copied a famous LongHorn Steakhouse dessert. Those who dine at LongHorn Steakhouse restaurants will typically end their meals with some type of sweet treat. One of the chain's most popular desserts is its famed chocolate stampede, large enough to serve 2, consisting of 6 types of chocolate in peaks and layers that are served with vanilla bean ice cream. The popularity of the chocolate stampede hasn't gone unnoticed by the Food Network either. "I am not good at interviewing celebrities. I want to hear the real sh*t. She didn't like working around guests' parameters for an interview and says she, absolutely, should have been fired." Remini only wishes Osbourne didn't insinuate that was not genuine in interviews after the incident. The part of Monica Geller almost went to Leah Remini. Here's a little bit of Friends trivia for you. Leah Remini played a pregnant woman named Lydia on an episode that aired in 1995 called, The One with the Birth. However, according to her book, Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology, she almost played another role on the hit sitcom, Monica Geller. She recalled walking out of the final round of network auditions with an unnamed actress, and they both figured they would find out who landed the part later on. As luck would have it, that was not quite the case. The TV network has a copycat recipe that's reportedly inspired by the popular steakhouse chain's dessert. This DIY version for chocolate lovers has been dubbed the almost famous chocolate mousse cake, and while it's a worthy recreation, it may prove challenging for novice bakers. There's also an eclectic list of ingredients, including Devil's Food Cake Mix, 10 eggs with yolks and whites separated, and strong coffee, with the latter combined with chopped bittersweet chocolate and butter to create the fluffy mousse that's a huge part of the restaurant's signature dessert. "We chatted on the way to our cars, wishing each other the best, and then we saw Courtney Cox walking toward us, then past us and right into the building. **CKER. We both knew it right away, she had the part of Monica. Losing roles is part of being a working actor, and yes, Remini eventually landed a lead role on The King of Queens, which, like Friends, was a successful and beloved scripted comedy. That said, just barely missing a part on a show that immediately became such a cultural phenomenon has got to sting. Hey, at least she didn't have to dance around with a turkey over her head. Leah Remini's rise to stardom wasn't a fairy tale. Remini told BuzzFeed that during her first audition, well-known casting director John Levy laughed at her, and not for reasons an up-and-coming actor would hope. "I went to the $5 clothing store, bought myself a miniskirt, some skippies, and I walked into that audition being my most Brooklyn," she said. "I was being a total smart ass and John's laughing, so I'm thinking, this guy loves me, and I'd be showing up on a set the next day." He would later admit to her that her audition was one of the worst he'd ever watched, but he liked her vibe so much that he begged for producers to cast her in her first role, a brief part on Head of the Class. "But I do believe when it's your turn, it's your turn. I envision Hollywood as a race and some people simply drop off before their turn comes around. It's all about stamina, your ability to get back up and keep going even though everything is pointing at the odds not being in your favor," she continued in BuzzFeed. She was cast on many short-run shows and failed pilots, but rather than give up, she kept moving forward. "It's an attitude that will get you far in Hollywood." Leah Remini didn't want The King of Queens to end. Nothing gold can stay, and the hit CBS show The King of Queens was no exception. In 2007, the sitcom drew to a close after 9 seasons. And Leah Remini was not exactly on board with this decision. She said in a 2014 interview with BuzzFeed, Kevin James, her co-star, loved the show, but his film career was taking off and he didn't want it to end up being the show that trickled off. She said that she eventually understood his logic, but that didn't make the show's end any easier for her. She said James was right about moving on, but she is still mourning that loss. She also admitted that she does not watch King of Queens reruns because, as she put it, "I still feel that show in my bones." Even though Remini and James reunited officially when she joined his show Kevin Can Wait as a regular in Season 2, Sometimes Lightning Doesn't Strike Twice, the show was cancelled after Season 2. Remini's recent credits include a supporting part in feature film Second Act, guest judging on The Masked Singer and Dancing with the Stars, and nabbing the titular role in the Mean Gene pilot. Alas, according to Deadline, Mean Gene never made it to air on Fox.